of content change.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay, page 52, the district provides LTD and life term insurance at no additional cost to part-time certified position, and then I added who work 20 hours per week or more.
Questions over anything? There, we had Jeff work on the handbooks with some of that language, and I talked to him, and he asked me just to go through it one more time, and so there was one that he did miss, so I think we just need to, but I don't have the page number, John, but it's the second page from the bottom of the actual handbook for high school. And students must also complete scheduled counseling sessions with an outside agency, again in parentheses that had at their own cost.
So take out the parentheses.
So just take out the parentheses, sessions with an outside agency dealing with issues pertaining to, now that we have mental health counselors, they don't necessarily have to use an outside agency because we've got them in now. So I would just look at that sentence, students must also complete a counseling session dealing with issues pertaining to good conduct violation.
That's the second thing? Or that
Well,
just-
I think,
All that.
I think it should just be read as students must also complete a counseling session instead of with an outside agency and at their own expense. So, yeah, so it's just that one sentence, but this is the only one. So he had meant to take that out because that was taken out of all the other handbooks. He just missed this
Just at their
one.
own expense taken out.
Yeah.
That piece only.
Well, no, students must also complete scheduled counseling sessions. I don't think you need to say with an outside agency because we have mental health there. We have.
You want to say with an approved provider?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so Jeff knows, he said, Sue, will you look over it one more time? And that was just, at their own expense has been taken out of all handbooks just because of the equality thing, so.
So tonight you could approve with that
Wording.
one amendment.
You want to make a motion to do that?
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve
The teacher and the student,
the teacher and the student handbooks for the different levels,
K through 12.
K through 12. And I have to state this change in there.
Just say with
With a-
amended change.
With amended changes.
Seconded by Matt. Motion by Sue, seconded by Matt. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thanks, Mimi and Sue.
Is that 6-0?
6-0. Oh, yeah, we good. All right, next is the, get to the right page here. Page 69 in your board packet. Curriculum request for approval. Information regarding new high school hospitality course material for Knowledge Matters Virtual Hotel Management Lab.
We very briefly talked about this in curriculum a month or two ago, and with the net being out this week. We did not meet again, but this is just the software that high school is going to use to facilitate those needs. And I don't believe that either one of us had any issues with that.
You just need a motion.
What, can I ask a question?
Okay.
What, is this course fall under career and technical education, or what does this course fall under? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it would.
Family consumer science.
Cool.
Yep.
Oh, family and consumer science. Oh, very good. Cool.
If you haven't been over and seen that room lately, it's neat. I
Yep.
mean, they've got everything in there as commercial grade equipment, and it's all new. And I think this is really gonna provide some opportunities. So I'll make a motion to approve the curriculum request for the virtual hotel management lab.
Motion by Matt, seconded by Sue. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is under HR. master contract ratification. So, Jonna and Mimi and Ted and I met with the association on last Tuesday, was it, or Wednesday? One of those days, and the increase will be $1.30 per hour for the associates, which what we were using a different number when we first started, and it would have equated to about an 8% increase, and now it's at about a 10.01% increase total. So they approved it, the association, yeah, they ratified their members, and so we would just need board approval. So this would equate to over 2 years, what have we done?
$2.30.
Goes 30 cents.
What percent? Probably 16% increase?
Probably more than that.
Or-
It was 7.5% last time. And then
Since
this
last
was-
year,
So 17.
Was last year's increase just a flat dollar, or did that include the 2.2?
Flat.
It was a flat dollar, yep.
So we just need a motion to approve.
Make a motion that we ratify the tentative contract agreement with the Indianola Education Association to provide $1.30 per hour increase from 2021 to 2022.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Ryan. Any, Mac?
2022, 2023. Yep.
223, yeah.
Oh, should it say 2022, 2023? And we have 2021.
Just that it takes effect.
Just read
It says that right in
above
front
there.
of it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's,
The
it's
2022,
correct in the
23
chart,
dollar.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And then we have issuance of the 2022, 2023 contracts and letters of assignments.
There, in front of you, there was 2 that were missed, so you'll see 2 bold-faced Deborah Bernard and Laura Rothschild added to that list on the sheet in front of you.
And we'll just need a motion approval of this.
And then you all 3 are just associates first.
Can we do it all in one?
I just need to tell you that there's a couple, you got also on the stapled pages, your coaches. There were a couple that changed on there. Jen Oliver now, were switched.
They're highlighted or
Yeah.
bolded.
So,
I can make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 contracts for the associates, the certified supplemental coaches and sponsors, and the teacher leaders.
Motion made by Bat,
Second.
seconded by Donna. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is our technology committee meeting. That was Sue, Mac, and myself with Ray. And we met with virtually with some individuals from a company that does the cyber security testing, and went through all of that with them. Is that, would we be moving forward then?
That would be the intent, is to move forward with some cybersecurity assessment and penetration testing, with one of those vendors.
That would be to see where like our weaknesses are.
Good idea.
Let's see, we also had an update, let's see, yes, did we Did we already approve that?
We did. So
We did.
this was
This is
the
just
morning
order.
of, this was the morning of the last board
Okay,
meeting, so.
okay.
We already approved the copier stuff, so.
That was about it. The virtual meeting took probably.
Yeah. You guys stayed awake for all of it, so.
We did.
It was good.
You didn't see us nodding.
I didn't snore, so that's good.
That was a deep, deep conversation for 7 AM. They seemed to know what they were talking about, though.
That was right up your alley, isn't it, Sue?
Right up my alley. I had a whole list of questions, like how do I turn this thing on?
All right, next is our monthly financials.
So as you look at monthly, from, this is April, and we'll have May, I believe, next month. And then we won't have stuff for a while because we basically have to finish our year up, so our year ends June 30th. So we will have, June 30th is a really long day, it's like 3 months long, 2 months long. So we try to, you've got these pieces and then we'll get information as we receive it, so, and we finish the year out. But as you look at that, you know, our general fund is very, very healthy, and April is always my favorite month because we get our second half property taxes and it's a lot of money. You know, this is the biggest, when you look at what our cash flow looks like, you see this is their largest chunk of influx of cash. So we're cash heavy right now, but this has to take us through till September. And it does, so you can kind of watch how our cash flow works. But again, general fund is very, very healthy. I don't know if anybody has any questions on any specific fund within the listing there.
On our nutrition fund, John, what's a typical year before COVID look like?
We usually end the year typically between 250 and 300,000, so that's very, very healthy.
With it being as healthy as it is right now, will we have additional expenses that are gonna come out of that, or are we gonna stay?
That's a good question. We're kind of in uncharted waters right now. One of the things that some of the other schools are doing is they're using some of this increased funding to purchase some equipment. And so we're looking at getting, some of the ovens we have are as old as the building. So like the Irving building, I mean, those ovens work very, very well, you know. I almost hate to go and get rid of them because are you gonna get that much use out of a new one? But they're looking at combination convection ovens that they possibly can use for and be more efficient. So we're looking at some of that. Yeah, food service is it's typically by law you can have 3 months operating. Well, this is more than 3 months operating. Every school in the state will be this way this year, and so we'll have to. I've never had this happen before.
Yeah, we haven't seen that number the last 8 years.
No, and if we hit 2 commas there, that'll be unheard of, right? So
That's because of. That's because of
of all the extra, the
The
increased
reimbursement, right?
reimbursements
Yeah.
by quite a bit, yeah.
those won't happen next year.
It's gonna go back down. We're still waiting for, and we'll talk about that when we get to the food, the food service prices. It will go back down so that you'll have some of our students will pay again, free and reduced, or reduced and then full price. So as we're working through our meeting tonight with the flexibility funds, that's the other piece, that as we clean that out, then we can move forward into next year. And that, again, is also uncharted territory to see if we're going to really hit hard with some of our people that can't afford to pay. So I've had several people reach out to ask about donations, so we'll see. And I said, hold off until next year, because we don't know where we're going to be next year. So, yeah. So food services is hugely healthy.
Sounds like a great time to get some Park Farm units in here. Some hydroponic growing for our vegetables.
Yeah. And actually, childcare is very healthy as well. So childcare, those two proprietary funds have done well with COVID. That one not as much, but again, for what it's typically, it basically breaks even or not, or breaks right below even. So if it has a little bit, that fund has a little bit of a cushion, I think that will help, because as we look at our costs, I think that we're not low, we're not the highest, but we're closer to the highest than we are to the lowest. So if we could hold off on that.
It's great to see that self-insurance funding growing too, not being sure coming out of COVID and delayed elective surgeries and everything.
That really-
Worried how that was gonna, so Jonna can't give me grief because that still went up even though I had surgery.
His
So.
bill-
That's exactly where my head was at. I'm like,
This is through
Bringing that up.
April, Art.
Oh.
I got another.
But this is my last meeting, so you still can't give me grief.
I'd have to go look him up, so. So anyway, any questions on the balance sheet? If you go to the, where we are in our certified budget comparison, again, we did in May, this is through April, so we did in May increase our certified budget with the amendment. So that will then affect this next month. You'll see that the certified budget amounts for 21-22 will be increased. So we're in fine shape moving forward into the end of the year. So, and then the raw cash flow, again.
Jonna, is execution rewarded? Is execution rewarded? So if you execute like 100% of your funds, does that guarantee that you get a certain amount of money the following year from the state? Like, is
From the
there
state?
execution, is there a rubric that rewards execution? That's probably a better question.
Sort of, maybe. We don't, in the state funds, in the schools funds, they don't take money back. With the exception of food service, which we don't know how that's gonna happen this year. But you cannot earn, what do I say, raise more than the set amount. So we can raise, if you have, I'm trying to think, local income from, say, what do I say, like a wind farm. If you had wind on your property and you earned money from that, that's local monies. State and federal monies typically are bound by some type of formula. Local, if we had any type of local income, that's not, it's also property tax, which is bound by a formula. But other things like that would not be. So they don't take money back in that, if that's what you're, maybe I'm not understanding your question.
Well, in government spending, if you have
Spend it.
X amount of money that you've been given, if you spend it all, then it's a pretty good indicator that you had that amount in needs. And so the next year, they tend to give you at least that same amount. If you are under executing, then they look at that and they say, well, apparently you didn't need everything we gave you last year, so they give you less. And so that's what I'm trying to.
It is a little bit different because we never know what state supplemental aid is going to be, and we don't know what our enrollment's going to do.
Right.
So if, prudent schools are conservative, and they do try to carry some balance, so you could weather a storm. And that doesn't typically get held against us, although it does come up in legislative conversations. For example, schools maybe don't need this much state aid because they have all that COVID money that they could use for this purpose. We hear different times, John and I know, we talk about the big management funds that some districts are carrying, because that is one part of your tax levy that you actually can control. And you know how we use management funds. We use it to prepay early retirement if we do that sometime. Of course, your liability insurance, that kind of thing. So we do try to carry a decent balance in that. So you're always kind of wondering, okay, is the legislator going to look at, schools have billions of dollars in the state. They don't need more money. They have all this money sitting here. So it's not as cause and effect as you're saying, but we have to think about that a little bit.
And it's budget versus cash too, that's the other piece of that. So budget, so when I come to you and ask that we need to do, we want the state supplemental aid, I want to do.
School budget review committee.
School budget review, review committee.
One more time.
It's been a long day, yeah. We ask for different, that's budget monies, not cash, so to speak. So budget is more important to us than cash because we have cash of about 20%. Our goal is to have, of the budget. So it's not even 3 months worth. Used to be 3 months worth, they shortened us to 20. Once you're there, you can't ask for more cash reserve levies that would help us with, say, increased enrollment or our expenses with special ed that are more, we can.
Increased
we can-
fuel cost,
That's not
electricity
even,
cost, you
yeah,
know.
that's truly cash basis. But there's a lot of things like that, that we ask for the budget authority to be able to spend it. And then down the road, maybe in 3 years, we'll be able to cash in on that and get the actual cash. Because we can't get cash more than the 20%. And it's a calculation we do at the end of every year. And last year, I think we could do 360,000, which is, that's not a lot compared in a $42 million budget. Then this year, it may be closer to zero.
Yeah.
So it kind of ebbs and flows. And that, when you talk about, we've talked before about other districts kind of northwest of here, that's where they are all the time because of growth. We being stable has helped us to not have that up and downness so much.
And you know, from the deficit spending the board's committed to in terms of retention payments, increased salaries and things, if we're not being good stewards and carrying a general fund balance, that's not even a conversation.
Correct.
You're not able to do that kind of thing. We're in a good position, so we can do that. We can overspend as long as we're not doing it every year.
Correct.
So,
John, is the daycare this summer filled? I know last summer it was down.
Last summer and the year before were very down. This year, I think they're about 225, which is close, not quite max, but close to max. They've done really well. I mean, it's a great program for
It is, yeah.
kids. So yeah, we were just talking about that. I was talking with somebody just today about that, and
Just went back up. That's, I just was curious.
you know, through the school year, they were not up to max.
I didn't think so. That's why I wondered.
And I think, you know, when I look at, you know, I think that they were at about 100 and, they were under 200. So they still felt like they were short on what they needed. So now, hopefully, if this gets them spurred with a good summer program, if that moves them into the next year, that would be great.
Okay, great, thank you.
Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Made by Tim,
Motion to approve the monthly financial reports for April 2022 as recommended.
seconded by Ryan. Any further discussion? Or Susan? Nothing?
I got it. Easy stuff.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next are the food service meal prices.
Okay. Okay, so this is, when you look at this, I tried to suck in 10 years on there so you can see it. In talking with our food service director, Abby, we originally, she was waffling before let's just not raise it at all. But then in listening to Metro Schools, some of them are raising it a quarter per meal. And she doesn't want to do that. Typically, we are bound by what the state will come out with, and they struggle with us and the other schools that are year-round schools because we need to get these set now for a July start. But there's a tool that they have to do, and it calculates what your balance is, and which would say, if you looked at our balance, along with everybody else's in the state, it would be pretty good. But the increased costs that they're seeing, they're concerned, she was concerned about if we don't go up at all, where are we going to be? So she said, can we just go up a nickel? A nickel hopefully won't deter someone from eating or not eating. And then next year, they'll tell us, typically they won't go over, increase more than a dime at a time. But I think that the way that, I think it was West Des Moines that was going up a quarter, but they're looking at, when you look at, you know, if we went up on 2021 and then they canceled food costs, you know, no one had to pay after September. Then in 21-22, this current year, we paid nothing. So they're thinking that, are they going to come back and say, you really have a 2-year thing, that now it's not 10, it's 20 cents?
Right.
And then with the cost of all the inputs hitting them, they're afraid that that would be an issue as well. So she's saying if we just do a nominal one this year, maybe we'll have that information next year to be able to move forward.
So
with-
at most, we might have to increase 15 cents next year.
Well, again, we're not, this is from the feds that we get this information from. So we're waiting to hear from them. And we've been touching base every day, her and I have not received that information yet. So to be able to move forward with Irving, we wanted to get this out. Typically, once we set it, we don't go back and change it. And so during the year, we wouldn't change it, I don't think, unless something really drastic happened. And I don't foresee that, especially with the balance that we're carrying.
Did you want the breakfast elementary increased to 205 as well?
She wanted to leave that the same, and then she broke out. If you look at elementary, breakfast used to be K-12, and she wants to break that out because there is a larger serving size in the 6 through 12. So she said, rather than leave it elementary the same, and then just go up a nickel for the secondary. So, again, that was, she really didn't want to do that because we went back and forth several different times on this. So hopefully, her inputs are much higher now.
Motion made by Matt,
Second.
seconded by Tim. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye. Motion carries 6-0. Board of Facilities Committee report. Sorry.
We had Laura come in. Can you scroll down? Yeah, so we just talked more about high school planning and what is our timeline, what does it look like? Focusing on, are there community leaders, are there young families, young parents? Who can we come along, who can form this group of people to really inform our community? One thing that we talked a lot about is there was, at the time of this meeting, a large group of people on the no side of what we were planning because they wanted completely new. And so the education that needed to be done on why we can't do new and educating them that more money is released as we go. We don't have it's not like we have a whole sum of it right now. And I was going to bring it, and I was going to ask Jonna to print it off, and I totally forgot. But they put together a really nice flyer that explains a lot of the information. Kind of this stuff here with the construction dates and the money, but condensed it down into basically kind of the big 3 bullets why option B is really what's most beneficial for the district. And also explaining, too, that if we were to go new, that really puts us in a financial strain in our district if something were to come up with one of the other buildings. So Laura was here and presented.
And that is the new cost. That grid is what she shared. She was going to give us more information on that, or kind of show it as, so that the people that were the no vote for the sole reason of wanting a new, this shows what that is.
Yeah, and we were able.
Include the land.
Right, and we were able to meet with some of these people one-on-one, and after showing them this and how she kind of put it in her nice pamphlet, they understand now the reasoning behind it. And they also understand that with it, looking at their kid, they're like, okay, so even my 3-year-old, if we went new, may not be in it for more than a couple years too. And so it was just that education piece that had to be done, and I think that education piece that really has to continue to be done. So Rob and Donna and I went to the kind of the Discord, the community members you guys wrote down. We had that first meeting where we kind of talked to them and looked at our timeline and
We need younger families, so if you guys know of younger families that are influential in the community, that have elementary age kids, that's who we need to get involved, because it's their school, it's their future,
And I think too, it's explaining to them what it is to be involved, right? It's not like it's 5 hours a week, you know what I mean?
No.
Like like painting a decent picture of their
Yeah.
commitment. You know, like a great example is James McConnell. So he comes to this meeting and he owns A&W, but he doesn't even have kids yet. But newly married, I mean, that's our crew right there, right? That love this community and have every intention of staying in this community.
Next.
And want, you know, as the new city manager comes in and they look at some of their goals, you know, what are we doing as a district to also make our school attractive to new people coming into the community? So the first group of people, we are still looking for people to join this. So Laura had asked each of us at the meeting to bring 1 to 2 more people that just represent different groups and different people all around. So
And the meeting's the 23rd, I think,
Yep.
right?
Next Thursday at 5:30 at People's Bank, across from People's Bank.
The New People's Bank building, not
New-
the.
Yeah, the office
People's
building.
administration.
yeah, and so it's just, it's like I said, the 3 people that were really like, oh, have now joined that committee because they understand the importance and they understand now why new isn't an option. So education's gonna be huge and verbiage is gonna be really important moving forward, so.
If you guys can get like some people there that are in that demographic, that would be very good.
And it was also, yes, like they, and people that can vote for, like in our district.
Yes.
Yes, we want those,
Anybody who votes for school board will be voting for this.
right.
So,
And there's a lot of people that are misinformed about that too. Well, I live in the city, or I live in the country, and it's like,
but if you
You
open
can-
enroll your kid to Indianola
Yeah.
schools, you can't vote.
so it was a good meeting. Lauren and her crew continues to just kind of guide us down the path of how we can better educate our community. So I think, was that all that we talked about?
Real quick, radon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. New radon testing law in Iowa requires us to do this. And so Bernie is all over it and going to work on ways to get it done.
About potentially putting buildings on a rotation so that they all didn't come due to have an expense all at one time. Because I think what is it, a 3-year or 5-year rotation?
I think so. I can't remember that. I mean, it's still new. I mean, this is the first we'd heard about it, so. There also, I did not hear the governor this morning that talked about safe and secure schools. There's funding coming out to schools, so much for building. Probably not a lot to do a lot with, because I believe it's, the information is just a blurb right now that I know of, but it's $50,000 per school, which would buy you a door and, it doesn't buy a lot, but maybe, I mean, we have done a lot with, I mean, probably 7 years ago, all the elementaries had they all have safe and secure entrances, so.
Help go towards the cameras.
Yeah,
That
could
might
help
be-
with elementary cameras, that's something we've
That's a
talked
huge
about.
thing, yeah. So, to be continued with that one, so.
Next is our flexibility account fund transfer. So,
We talked about this a lot, and this is, we do have a public hearing.
we'll open the public hearing. Would you guys like to speak? Anybody here to speak for or against the transfer of these funds? Okay, nobody's here to speak for or against. We'll shut the public hearing down. Now it's closed. And now we can go ahead and do a motion.
Following the public hearing, I make a motion that we approve the board resolution transferring a maximum of $74,140 of unspent, unobligated statewide voluntary preschool categorical funds for fiscal year 2022 in the flexibility fund per House File 565, and expending those funds for school food service deficit meal balances and local retention payment for ineligible state teacher retention certified staff as recommended.
Motion made by Tim. Seconded by Mac. Can you restate that again? Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. So, finally got that taken care of.
Talked about it a long time, haven't
Yeah,
we?
didn't we?
We've been doing this for quite a while.
Yes.
The next is the employee physical exams, I believe. Yes.
So we sent these out to about 5 different entities, 2 of them in town, 2 or 3 of them, 3 of them in town. What we find is a limiting factor for some is the DOT physical. Some facilities don't do a DOT physical, so we can't offer that. Or they can't offer that for us, and we look at this as a package deal if they want to go. So Mercy was the only one that returned a proposal for us. So this will give us a several-year program with that. That's who we've had before. So I know that the Iowa Clinic is getting somebody that may down the road. They would have liked us to hold off on this, but it's a public RFP, so we couldn't do that. Down the road, they would be interested possibly, so.
Does this tie in at all with what you mentioned before, Jonna, regarding, I know it doesn't in some ways, but can it? I guess I'm trying to figure out. You mentioned that there may be an opportunity where we could do some health insurance savings if we had a greater participation in annual physicals.
Well, we did offer that blood, it was like a wellness screening we did. 104, I think people offered that. That wasn't through this.
Okay.
That's separate. This is like a work comp, not work comp. But
Okay,
as your
separate.
employment.
Initial
It's
employment.
different, but it's again, to help us be healthier as a whole group.
Do these count? So every time somebody does something
Oh.
like this?
Well, we don't have a wellness program per se. We've talked about it. We're still working towards that, so, yeah. But one of the things that the insurance company said, if you can do some kind of a screening that people would be interested, start it out, just see, There was no incentive. People just came and got their information. So,
So where I'm going with it is this: if you had, for example, X number of people that took advantage and participated in this employee physical, and you stuck those numbers with health screening, people that volunteered for the health screening, and you pushed that to the insurance company rather than them pulling for it, and we said, hey, we had this many people that participated in these kinds of wellness activities, is there any cost savings that we could look at for that?
insurance, probably not. Probably not. And this is mainly for a new employee coming in. The DOT physicals happens either 1 to 2 years, depending on the health of the individual. So we do see the DOT continuing with our employees, but it used to be every 3 to 5 years you'd have a new physical, but that went away several years ago. So it's, as you enter, if you're healthy now, you're good for 20 years.
Really, we don't have to do that TB test anymore either, huh?
You remember when they did that? Yeah.
I just do that every 3 years. Had to have that,
As a
yeah.
current employee, I think
Mhm.
another employee that's going at the district anymore.
Right. Makes sense.
So,
Do we need to update that to say Mercy 1 Indianola, or does it matter?
I can change that to be Mercy One, because it's gonna change again to be Trinity or whatever, isn't it?
Right.
Down the road, so, I think that's how they sent it to me
So
too.
disappointing, you're not the loop.
I'm not.
Just need a motion to approve
Yeah.
this.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal received from Mercy One for the exam costs.
There we go. Motion made by Matt,
Second it.
second by Donna. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is the facilities project update.
I told Bernie A picture's worth 1,000 words, even though they're small pictures.
I like the corner. Maybe
You like-
100 words.
You like the seclusion room, it's pretty much a box.
So the Wilder room is done, huh?
Yeah, they're done.
Wow, good.
So,
That's what it's Bernie's.
All right. Yeah, that helps sum it up right there.
there you go.
Next is the equine therapy pilot.
Yep.
Part.
That report came from the providers, and I just wanted to give it to you as they gave it to me. And I think it's very readable. You can see the sort of qualitative data in the form of quotes from teachers, from participants. You can see a little bit of hard data that came from surveys of participants in terms of increased ability to cope with difficulties or communicate that grew as they went through the program. That came as a result of the 36-question adolescent self-regulatory inventory. And then just kind of a summation, what we've learned from doing this. I remember when this was presented, this was one of the possibilities. I think the board has been about as excited about that program as anything when we first presented it. I think it was successful. I think now we're sort of at a decision point. They would love to keep working with us. They put down below some different options. I think, of course, they would, a couple of things. You see different proposals. They would like more kids to be able to take advantage of it. We ran this as a pilot in the spring just to see how it went. I think it went well. They also found that by the time they get out there, like anything, when you have transportation, getting ready, getting going, they found the 2 hours went very fast. So I just give this to you to kind of mull this over. You're going to have some other mental health things on the agenda in July. Sue sat in on a couple of meetings this morning with 2 of our 3 providers. Ted was in those as well. Stacy Warren from the AEA, who is the regional SCMBH lead. Indianola is going to be highlighted as kind of a model school for comprehensive mental health systems with a big kind of workshop that the AEA is doing for schools next week. So I want us to stay on this path. We have an advantage right now with something like the Equine program. We're spending grant money from that Gear 2 grant. And I didn't put this on as an action item tonight because I want you to mull it over a little bit. I could definitely see the district doing 2 groups instead of 1 next year, and maybe doing an 8-week block instead of a 6-week. I would probably lean that way to more people participating and more groups than lengthening the session. So if it were on an action item tonight, I might be saying next year I would recommend 2 groups per week for 8 weeks. That's probably kind of where my head's at. But think about it. And then I think this could come back as an action item in July, along with your comprehensive mental health contracts. You remember we work with 3 local providers. It's really been going well. We're light years ahead of where we were 5 years ago. The last 3 years what we've been doing has gone well. The local providers have had capacity. There's been quite a bit of consistency in terms of the same people showing up. We've been able to virtually eliminate waiting list for our kids. And we've been able to help kids that either need ongoing therapy or that are in crisis. And I'm kind of segueing into that next report. This is very, go ahead.
Would you do the 2.5-hour one?
I would probably do the 2-hour one.
Okay.
For 2 groups per week for 8 weeks, I think.
Okay.
I think, and Jonna can help run the numbers too. That grant that we got was $155,000. So at the time, right now, we have money in it, and we do need to expend that within a couple of years. So I would recommend doing it another year, expanding it. Of course, the only thing, if you do something and it's really great and you hit a funding cliff, then you might have to make a tough decision in a year or 2.
Yeah, but this is the kind of thing that people might get on board and provide.
Certainly could, yep.
Yep.
So think about the equine therapy. I think there's enough there to make me want to continue it. The other thing is very similar to what you got around semester time in terms of just mostly the data that Stacy Warren pulls together for us. She gets a lot of this from surveying the providers, the mental health therapists who are on site, in terms of the number of kids served. Basically, we served 10 more students this year than last year, 164 versus 154. And then it's sort of broken out by, I think there were 20 kids that were basically in crisis, and those are kids where the mental health therapist is referring them on for, intense help, like hospitalization or something. To me, this is some of the most important work we do. I've really appreciated this board, having mental health as a leading priority for you the last couple of years. My time here, we've dealt with some pretty tragic things, but I think we also have probably prevented a lot by investing in this. Just so you know what's coming with the contracts that I just gave to the providers today, I left the dollar amounts the same as they were this year in terms of the level of support we're giving. Two of our providers that are here, for example, the provider that has somebody here every day in the middle school, the district provides $12,000 to help support that. And then the second provider that covers the high school and 4 of our elementaries, similar amount of help, $12,000. And then we have an individual who works for us too, just at one of our elementaries, and that's set at $3,500. Again, just based kind of on time and the amount of students they can serve. And the way I wrote the contract this year was that it's a 3-year contract, so we can kind of dedicate and expend this grant money within the time we need to. But there's also language in that agreement that says, but every year we'll continue to meet. We can tweak the requirements. If something needs to get tweaked, we can look at the dollar amount. If we find out that our grant dollars are, really going a long ways, and we need more people in the schools 2 years from now, maybe that 12,000 goes up a little. The other part of the grant that we wrote was for training. There is some good training. A couple of examples recently. Our admin team went through youth mental health first aid training last year. Good training, builds awareness of seeing those kids in crisis. Our counselors went through kind of a suicide checklist type training, the Columbia Screener, I believe it's called, so that we're approaching it the same way in every building, having the same level of care, no matter which one of the 3 providers it is, and really assessing kind of objectively. So there could be future training where, we can pay teachers for their time, where we can pay to bring in outside trainers if we need to. That's in the grant as well. That's a little bit of an unknown right now as far as as much as that might cost. So it's great to have some money for this. Rob asked the question, hey, is that grant coming around again? That particular one, probably not. This was kind of leftover federal money, gear money that the governor had. But I'm really encouraged when I heard the legislature talk about school safety and mental health and resources needed. So we'll just want to, as a district, you'll want to be aware of opportunities and go after them so we can keep funding good things like this.
And some of that money can be used for parent education as well, and parent training, correct?
I don't know if we wrote a lot of that into the grant, but I think it probably could be. And we also, I don't know if that fits community ed under our PEARL or not, if something like that would. We have the PEARL levy, the playground levy that also could be for community ed, would be another possibility. So I feel like we're getting a lot done. We're doing very good things, and it's nice to have some additional funding to help support that right now. Any questions on either I didn't go through all the data or all the comments on the equine therapy, but any questions on your mind as far as mental health?
How much have we spent of that 150?
I don't have the exact number, but not much. 5% of it, like 7,500, could be spent on a tangible kind of like hardware type things, aids. We've spent some of that on some work we did to the facility at the middle school. And then the bulk of it is for direct service to kids or training, which is stuff we have coming up. So we have, I don't know, Jonna, do you have any
Just
idea?
looking here, right now, if I can see.
Jonna gets to do all the
Got
reporting on
84,
that.
we've committed 84, right, with what you've got planned for your 3-year contract with
Right.
those folks, so.
Yep.
That's over half, right?
Yep, but I think that's, again, that's direct service to kids. We want to do that anyway. I think
I was
that's-
looking at the equine therapy.
Yeah,
So I was looking at how much
Right.
latitude we have there
Right.
with that.
Yeah, I think right now we're in great shape. We can definitely do it.
Yeah.
That would be for just one semester, the fall semester. That
Well, I would-
9,600, was it?
I think it was 2 groups for, sorry, let me get back to
Yeah, I don't
that.
think they can go at the same time.
They do a fall and a spring would be
Yeah.
the 2 groups. Yep,
Oh, okay. So that would be a full year.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, we haven't spent very, I mean, I think we had 140 left as of Q3, so we would have paid our mental health supports coming up. And some other, there's been some other expenses, so I think we'll be up over 100,000 at that point still. Unless there's something that I don't know that's come out.
So we would have 3 years' worth of our mental health on-site people, plus a year or 2 of Equine stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that this only goes, here's the deal, this only goes through September 30th of 2023. So that's something to be,
And I guess my thought
so
with that
that's a year
contract,
from now.
if we've, and this was my idea, maybe you're gonna shoot it down, maybe we need to pay them up front. But I did the 3, if the money is designated,
Yep.
I think that you're okay to do that.
that was the whole idea in the 3-year
Of the
contract.
3-year contract,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about for what you talked about for 84 grand, right?
Yeah,
I wonder, is the equine therapy, is
I think they would be thrilled, Tim, if we wanted to, if we really did the math, and we saw we've got enough, we know we've got enough for 2 more years. I mean,
Right.
I think they would in a heartbeat agree to that as well.
not look at a cost increase for that?
There might be a little negotiation involved, but I think it's been really good for them too. It was something they had been wanting to do for a while, and just kind of came together, so. Cool. That's probably about what I have on that, I think.
Next is the board calendar.
Tomorrow night.
Ray,
How many of these are you gonna be at, Art?
I'm sorry.
How many of these are you gonna be at? I'm just joking.
Oh, not much, because June runs out pretty quickly there. And I'm on vacation
You said you
June
were willing to
16th
help
and out of
out
state
where
June
needed.
28th. You'll see me tomorrow night.
You said you were willing to
and
help
we're
out
not,
as
Ray,
needed.
we're not having technology, okay, on the 20th.
I'm willing, but sometimes
Just not available.
it's willing, but you're just not.
So, tomorrow night we'll see you.
Yep, I'll see you tomorrow. Tim, what are you eating tomorrow night? I didn't get you.
I sent.
It didn't come through.
Oh, whatever you have.
I have anything. What do you want?
What is everybody else eating?
I have 3 people having burgers, 2 having steak, and 2 having salmon. Or you can get chicken too. What do you want?
Three having steak.
Steak? Okay,
But I'm happy with a hamburger too, so it doesn't really
that's
matter.
fine. I'll put you down for the steak.
Your last opportunity.
You'd like 3 hot dogs.
You can join the
Tried
big
to- I
shots.
It asked me for my PIN on my Google password, and I was just, so then I
It
just
asked me
tried to.
too, that's why I just yeah.
So then I tried to
Mine did that
reply
too.
to the email, and I thought it went through, and I checked the box, and it looks like
Yeah.
it still failed.
It just came through, it kind of came through blank.
I just
got
went
your
and
email, but
texted him or emailed him
Alright.
directly because I couldn't get it to work either.
HR and finance are this week at 7 a.m. together.
Thank goodness I'll be on vacation, so I don't have to choose.
We have to be in separate locations, right?
Yeah.
Since we circumvented, we changed, we'll go into the conference room over there. And Ted will be around, so he can.
We get the fun room? Is Ray okay?
You should, you're talking about finance, you better sit in the fun room to do that.
Right, guys.
We usually use this hotel room.
Are we gonna-
Those are we all on
HR.
separate for these?
Right, we're doing HR for your second.
Yeah.
So it's three.
Okay.
And then, remember, Thursday evening is the introduction to, at Simpson, for
It's
Ted.
in the black
for
box or upstairs?
Black box.
Black box.
Black box?
At the theater. 6 o'clock, right, is the start? 6 to 8, maybe? 6 to 8.
Yes, 6
And it's a
to-
greet and come and go.
Yeah, meet, greet, come, go.
Okay.
There will be a formal, semi-formal introduction about 6:15. They'll each talk for about 5 minutes or so about themselves and their platform, but otherwise it's anybody that wants to stop in and meet and ask questions.
Anything else coming up big? Okay, next board agenda. That's the July one.
The 19th, yeah.
Donna, you'll make sure those mental health contracts get in there. I gave Ted a hard copy of each of the three today, and I have electronic on the computer. I'll forward to
Send
you.
those, yeah. And then also the equine.
We'll need to reach out to them on the,
Oh, man. I get back that morning. The next
Jay.
meeting.
All right, on behalf of the board, Art, I'm gonna just step in and say thanks again. We appreciate the last 7 years from you. And I'll make a motion to.
you didn't like my first year, wasn't worth anything?
8 years, sorry.
8 years. Okay. All right.
No, your last
Your
year.
first 7 was
No, it's been great. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity or more wonderful school to work for, and I really appreciate your support too. You know, I think you do a great job on a volunteer basis, and appreciate all the good things that we do for kids here. So,
And I knew Art Eady. He was in school when I was, so I
Right.
knew your uncle.
yeah.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Matt, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're gone. See you guys tomorrow night.
And that's 5.
I didn't expect